Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the weekly show where members of Team MagicJank get together and we talk about the latest happenings in Magic the Gathering. And naturally, it's been, the last couple of weeks, we've seen a ton of Modern Horizons 3 stuff. As of this recording, the full spoiler is out. We have the entire set before us. We haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but that's coming up. But we're going to talk about a couple of those cards today, because why not? Specifically the Planeswalkers that we're seeing in the set. So we're looking forward to that. My name is Graham, go by HamHawks42, and I'm joined by Damien, F16 today. Damien, how we doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm missing our third here, sadly. It's a duo today, Indeed. Not a trio, but such is life. I know one of our team is in Dallas for DreamHack, which is happening right now. So I don't know what Carlo's getting up to down there, but good luck with whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah.
Getting into all kinds of mischief, I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Yeah, it's been a busy weekend, and I can tell it's been pretty busy for everybody. So I understand why it's just the two of us today, and that's all right.
We're kind of at this weird limbo phase that happens in Magic from time to time, where this is a particularly accentuated limbo because it's the first we're about to rotate. We're at the twilight of the standard format here. Mm-hmm. So we're getting to this weird part of the, typical standard rotation cycle where you're at the end. Everybody, the decks are the decks. There's not many new ones coming out. And there's only one real tournament happening that's left that anybody cares about, which is this weekend. Nobody's going to really care about standard for a while after this. Right. And then rotation's happening, and this is an accentuated kind of pregnant pause here because this rotation has taken so long to get here. So many players have been waiting for so long to get this, some of these cards that have been in play in standard for 3 years out of here. It's kind of a weird time. Everybody's just kind of holding their breath, waiting for things to rotate, and can't wait until it does. But standard can be put on the shelf for now because that's not for a couple months that's happening. Right around the corner, we've got Modern Horizons 3. So that's all anybody's been talking about for the last 2 weeks. We've got the full spoiler now, right? There's a lot of crazy stuff. So what do you think? What do you think about the full set?
It's so funny that you mentioned it because standard is in a very bizarre spot right now because there's this anticipation for the rotation, but we still have another 2 months before that's hitting. So it's funny, if you're playing an arena right now and you're trying to rank up and you want to continue to play standard, it's in that weird spot where it's like, well, we still have some time, so there's no need to worry about making your deck rotation proof at this point. I don't think. I mean, we have 2 more ladder rotations before the set actually rotates anyway, and so just keep playing the deck that you're playing. But at the same time, if you're thinking, oh, now's the time I can finally craft a Rafine, it's like you may want to hang on to your wild cards. That's probably not going to be a good investment right now. But yeah, so it's interesting because we get to look forward to it. But fortunately, the good folks at Wizards, for whatever, regardless of how altruistic the reasoning is, we do get Modern Horizons 3 onto Arena, so we can play it in Timeless and Historic. So us arena junkies get to play that while we're kind of waiting for standard to become revitalized when Bloomborough shows up in a couple months.
Yeah, it's just kind of historic in a way, right? I mean, this is the first Masters set that's ever been on Arena. It's weird that they released Lord of the Rings on Arena because that almost felt like a Masters set in a way because, again, it's only affecting Modern and Legacy. On Arena, it's only affecting, Timeless, Historic, and they looped in Alchemy, but in this case, Modern Horizons will not be legal in Alchemy, right? It's just Timeless, Historic, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people are excited to play, with these cards, but it's just strange because again, Arena, Timeless and Historic aren't real formats. They don't have a tournament circuit. They don't have any pros that care about them really, and testing teams that are trying to break them and everything. So. It's kind of just a sandbox format, so how much or how little will Modern Horizons affect it? Well, the answer is basically, who cares? I think most players don't really care. It's Modern that a lot of players are talking about, and it looks like there's some really busted cards in the set for Modern. We've talked about many of them already, but today we're going to focus on some specific ones, right? I mean, these ones just came out. So we've got the Flip Planeswalkers. I haven't seen any of them, so you've read all of them, right?
This is going to be fun, because I have a lot of thoughts on all of these, so I'm very excited to get your kind of early reactions. One thing that I do want to call out, though, with Modern Horizons coming up, so I think you're right. A lot of people aren't really stressing, Timeless and Historic too much. Because, yeah, sandbox formats. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, have fun, go nuts. I think a lot of people, though, are going to be really excited with the Evoke Elementals showing up.
That's fair.
On Arena. So I'm fully anticipating Rakdos Scam or some flavor of Scam is going to be the deck for at least the first 2 weeks.
Right. I mean, don't we already have a template for that? They can literally go back like 8 months and just go, okay, you know what? Before Fury was banned, what did this deck look like? Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
This? Okay, done.
That's now a Timeless deck. And so,
yes. And that was a miserable deck to play against that many people complained about. Many people thought Grief should be banned. They still think Grief should be banned. So I don't know how that's gonna. Is it going to affect people are excited? You're saying, but how long is that going to last? That honeymoon phase.
I think people are gonna get turned off real fast. Like I think if people given the reaction that I saw to Show and Tell and how quickly people kind of fell off of that, like it was a fun thing for like a day, and then people were screaming that it needed to get banned because it was just ruining the whole experience. I can't imagine this is going to be different than that.
So I mean, now that said, Timeless is a different format. Channel's not legal in Modern, know, whatever demonic dark ritual or whatever is, but I don't know. So are the elementals, is Timeless closer to Legacy, like to the point where maybe these elementals don't dominate the format and everybody get grief scammed?
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I know that I definitely have an idea for a deck that I can't wait to try out. That's related. Just assuming that I'm going to see Grief every other matchup. I want a deck that is 100% cards like Nullhide Ferox or Obstinate Baloth that just benefit from being discarded. And that way my opponent looks at my hand and all my non-lands want them to discard it, so they have to, give me advantage.
I mean,
terrible idea, not a viable deck, but man, the clips are going to be hilarious.
Yeah, and I love your passion for beating that strategy. It's like I'm going to be terrible against everything else, but if they make me discard, that's it. I get to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
and it gives me an excuse to play, for Orvar the All form in my main deck.
Oh God.
So whatever, let's go.
Yes. And anyway, hey, you've got bonus game plan against creativity decks or whatever. I don't know.
Exactly. That is right there 100% just Twitch clip bait. It's gonna have like a 5% win rate, but man, the wins are gonna be sweet. Anyway, but that's not necessarily what we're here to talk about today. That's just a little idea that hit me the other day, and I've been very excited about trying it ever since. So tune into my channel after. I'm not going to be doing that during the early access event, because while there will be people doing Rakdos Scam, I anticipate trying to tech against that without any of the new cards would be a bit of I'm not necessarily in the spirit of the event. So but
hey, I got into early access this time, so I'll be there with you. I'm going to be doing the whole 18 hours. I'm going to be streaming from 6 in the morning to midnight. And I asked people, just give me all your deck lists. The wackier, the better. I mean, hey, if we have access to every single card on the program or whatever, we're going to get crazy. So I've already got a couple lists that look ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be, sure, I'm going to be doing it for a long time. We might as well. So yeah, join us for that. We'll plug this at the end. But 100%. But before we get to
links in the description. And a lot of us will be jamming that. I'm going to be on the whole time as well. I can't wait. It's going to be very exciting.
Oh, you are? Nice.
I'm actually planning on doing my first ever subathon, which I fear I might be a little in over my head on that one, but I'm going to try it.
No, you'll be fine. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. But
like you'll keep streaming as long as people keep going for the whole time. It's around.
Yep,
so it's capped at 18 or whatever.
Actually,
or no?
I don't have any other plans Thursday, so
I am planning on just letting it ride. Be careful with that.
I will pause the timer and go to sleep when when the need arises. But
that's okay. Never mind.
But that is no. Yeah, I'm not going to be streaming 48 hours straight. I've done the 24-hour thing a couple of times, and every time by the end of it, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. What was I thinking?
It's tough. It's tough. I know.
So anyway, but yes, I'm going to try that. We're going to see how it goes.
Cool.
But anyway, that's more on that later. But for now, new Planeswalkers. We're getting 5 new Planeswalkers that actually don't have the creature type Planeswalker as far as Delirium and things are concerned, because they're only a Planeswalker on the backside. These are in the same style as the Magic Origins Planeswalkers that we've seen in the past, like Jace Vryn's Prodigy and Chandra and Alar, those like old school creatures that become Planeswalkers. And they tell the story of how the Planeswalker Spark ignited. And so we get one for each color. Fun, beloved characters, some of which we've already had to say goodbye to, yet we're going to go back to their origin, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so let's just get started from the top. And So the first one that we got was Ajani Nakatl Pariah. Now this one was spoiled in like the very first look at MH3 back in like MagicCon Chicago earlier this year. So this one we'll probably touch on pretty quickly because chances are
I remember this one. Yeah, I did see this one. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a 1/2 for 2. It enters, you make a 2/1, which I've learned is actually representing Ajani's brother, which is kind of a tragic tale because whenever one or more other cats you control dies, Ajani flips and becomes this like Boros aggro planeswalker that can produce cat tokens or buff, cats that you already have. So I think it's cool design. The fact that it produces 3 power and 3 toughness across 2 bodies for 2 mana with like crazy upside seems kind of silly to me, but that's what you got to do to be playable by modern day power standards.
Yeah,
so
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised he's not a 2/1. His brother's stronger than he is, and then his brother dies, and he gets angry. But it's weird when I look at the backside. I just think of the original Ajani Vengeance. Even the name Ajani Avenger, like it's almost exactly the same. Now, I mean, the sacrifice -4 is reminiscent of that, ultimate on the original Ajani Vengeance, but. Yeah, like these kind of cards, I just don't see it making any impact outside of casual formats like Commander or what have you. So yeah, an interesting, card for casual play maybe, but I don't think it's good enough for competitive constructed.
Yeah, like I want to believe that there's some kind of Boros aggro list out there, but it's certainly, if there is, it's certainly not cat based, which this definitely wants. So yeah, a lot of Rin and Siri Commander players are going to be very happy to have this, and that's going to be.
And it is. I guess it's pretty easy to flip. It's not, it was harder to flip some of those Origin Planeswalkers, like for Magic Origins, like the Gideon, like attacking with 3 creatures or something. This is just, the thing dies. There's a million ways to make it die yourself or have it die by, with your opponents attacking or what have you. So easy to flip, but I don't know how good that is really. Countering each cat you control, you need a cat deck. Yeah, probably not going to see a ton of play.
Yep, I'm with you. Like,
but the next one
reads good.
Yeah.
So yeah, not to bury the lead, this next one is my personal favorite. I'm also a Golgari Reanimator player deep down, and on the surface. So yeah, Grist. It's everywhere. That's just all I am.
I'm rotting.
Grist, yeah, 100%. Yeah. So this one was like smack dab in my wheelhouse already, just by what it's doing. I also think it's one of the stronger ones. Grist Voracious Larva, 1/2 legendary insect for a single green with Death Touch. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay a green. If you do, you exile it, flip it into Grist the Plague Swarm, which is a Planeswalker, starting loyalty 3, +1, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards. Put a Death Touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. -6, for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect.
Yeah, very weird card.
Little bit.
1 mana. Yeah.
It costs 1 mana. It's a 1 mana 1/2 Death Toucher on its face. I mean, the floor on that's pretty high, all things considered.
So I'm envisioning some sort of dredge deck. You're playing Narcomoeba, you're playing Prized Amalgam, you're playing, Buried Alive, is it called? What is that new one they just gave us? Is it Buried Alive? Where it's like 3 mana black sorcery that lets you go get 3 creatures, put them in your graveyard.
Yes, that is Buried Alive.
Like, so you can go like turn 1 Grist, turn 2, I don't know, whatever, and then Buried Alive, go get, Narcomoeba, like let's say you get Narcomoeba, 2 Prized Amalgams. Narcomoeba comes into play, brings in the double amalgams, flips the Grist, and then or flips the Voracious Larva. So maybe, I'm trying to think of what is the fastest way to flip this, right? You've also got Stitcher Supplier to mill. Like, it's got to be some kind of, self-milling.
It might involve, Bloodghast as well, that kind of a thing. So,
Could see it.
Is
it high impact enough? Oh, yeah?
Well, what about Yogg? What about Yogg decks with the Undying Wolf, being able to, sacrifice that? It just comes back immediately, and if you have 1 green line around, boom, you got a walk around line. I mean, you
just can't do it until turn what?
It 4? Would be turn 3, maybe 4, whatever the case may be.
4,
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it started right away.
It's still decent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is it high impact enough? That's my concern here. So, like, a one
Fair
mana
question.
1/2 death touch doesn't matter. I guess it blocks Ragavan or something. Like, you can,
Right.
I don't know. It maybe does something. But even Grist, even the flip side is this, making a 1/1 insect the self mill. I think the only way
Hmm.
this is good enough is if you are, like I said, +1, make an insect, mill 2 cards. Oh, it's a prized amalgam and a narco amoeba, or like you're
Sure.
doing a
That's
bloodghast. Now
right.
they
Right.
both come in and blah blah blah. So if you're doing some kind of self-mill deck, I think that's the best part of the card is the backside +1 that lets you self-mill, and then maybe you get advantage. Now destroying target artifact or enchantment's okay, but like destroy, it's not even exile, so you can't hit the one
Yeah.
ring. It's like
Sure.
I don't know.
That's fair.
And
But what
then
about
yeah.
with like unearth? Being able to favorably block something and then you can unearth it if you have an extra green. You can get the
Mhm.
planeswalker kind of right on the spot. I feel like, or in like a deck with
Mm.
Luris maybe as a as a
Oh,
companion.
but
You can.
now you're not talking about modern. You're talking about just like in
Oh no, I suppose not. Yeah. No, I'm
modern
thinking
ban.
timeless or historic. Yeah.
Oh, online. Yeah. See, it could be
Oh, but in modern, yeah,
timeless.
in modern, I can see it not quite lining up well. But that's
Hmm.
yeah. If you're doing the self mill thing, maybe. But do those decks currently run green?
Well, there is no self mill graveyard based deck in modern right
Oh.
now. They're just, I mean, Living End, and there was a graveyard based deck in Living End, but it's not Dredge, like not the same way, not with
Mm,
the prized amalgams. We haven't seen a deck like that for years now, since they banned Troll, and Faithless Looting took a hike, and
mm.
of course Hogak and all that stuff. But
Right.
even after that, there was some Dredge decks, but Faithless Looting really knocked them out. But like again, Narcomoeba is legal, prized amalgam is legal. You've got things like the Buried Alive and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I could, but yeah, it'll be. It's a long shot because again, even if you do the thing and you flip this
Hmm.
larva, like this has to be doing something I think better than just milling a couple cards a turn. There's a bunch of ways you could do that that don't take all this work. So
Gotcha.
Grist is a cool card. I think it could see play. It's going to see play in casual decks and other stuff.
Oh, sure.
Does Timeless have a graveyard deck? You maybe know more than
Right.
I.
Well, right now it's funny you mentioned that the Narcomoeba and Prize Amalgams. I've definitely gone up against that. Yeah, in Timeless, I've
Oh,
100% seen that where they're
okay.
running Picklock Prankster, Founding the Third Path,
Hmm.
Glimpse the Unthinkable or whatever it is, where it mills for 10.
Otherworldly Gaze. Oh,
Yep.
Glimpse.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they just blast their own graveyard, and that deck
Hmm.
is capable of by turn 3 throwing 12 power on the board. Most of it has haste and just really wrecking shop. So,
It's
um,
interesting.
now that those decks, the reason that I asked about green though is because all the versions of that I've seen in Timeless, it's generally best of one, and they're usually Demir. So would it
Okay.
make
Yeah. Yeah.
sense to add a whole other color just for this? Like, not really.
Yeah. No.
It's gonna just slow it down at this
Yeah.
point,
I mean,
given what we
the
currently
green.
have. Yeah,
Yeah, and the green before was for things like Troll and that kind of
right.
stuff, which don't exist. I mean, there's not even Bridge from Below on Arena, things like that. Those were some of the big Dredge
Yeah.
payoffs that just don't exist on Arena. But interesting. So yeah, I don't know. That's what's so hard about evaluating these. I can really
Mhm.
only speak to Modern, and even Modern, I'm just basing it on the most well known decks, and where this would fit in that metagame in that context. Timeless and historic, I mean, I have no clue. I have no
Right.
clue. What does anybody have I don't know. You can look at untap.gg data and kind of get a vague sketch of what people who use that program are doing,
Hmm.
but I don't know how. Yeah.
I mean, their Modern Horizon sets up until now have been strong enough so that they've been able to rotate Modern. So if you think
Yeah.
historic or timeless has any chance, they're
Yeah.
gonna see massive shakeups is my expectation. So who
Do you
knows what's gonna
think
shake
do you
out?
do you think Timeless is more powerful format than Modern? I think it is, right? I think
It
it
it definitely
certainly
has
is.
a couple of more powerful cards to it. Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
the card pool is smaller, but I mean, obviously
Yeah, I
with things
suppose.
like show and tell, channel,
Yeah,
demonic
being
tutor, like
legal.
necropotence being a 4 of, like,
Storm, yeah,
yeah. So
Necropotence. So I
so
don't know. I feel like it's a weird. Yeah, you're right. The card pool
yeah.
is smaller, but like they artificially injected so many powerful cards into it
Hmm.
that it feels like it is more powerful. So I don't know. Maybe a card that could have an impact in modern might not have an impact, or would have an impact
Yeah,
in modern
it might
might
have
not
an impact in
impact
modern,
time.
but not in timeless. It's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
It'll be
Anyway, an
wild
interesting
to
one
see.
for
But yeah,
sure. Yeah, we'll see if that sees any play. I could see it in a dredge deck. I could see it.
right? Yeah, I think the power level is there. I know it's going to be my day one historic brawl commander, but that's that's whatever.
Dude,
All
I
right.
can't wait to run into you on the ladder. It's going to be
It's
so
happening.
good.
Let's go.
I'm going to see a bunch of people that we know on that day.
Yes, it's gonna be so much
great.
fun. Oh, can't wait. All right, so the next one that I want to talk about is Ral Monsoon Mage. So this
Right.
is a 1/3 for 1 and a red. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, the Goblin Electromancer text. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Ral deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you may exile Ral. If you do, return to the battlefield transformed. And the flip version is Ral Leyline Prodigy. An Izzet Planeswalker that enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn, which in order to trigger the flip is a minimum of 1. So he has a starting loyalty of 2, but, that could be larger if you've been storming off on your turn, effectively.
Right.
+1 until your next turn, instants and sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. So you can continue with that if that's what you want. -2, deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control a blue permanent other than Ral. -8, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instant and sorceries from among them this turn without paying their mana costs.
Okay.
So what are you thinking?
I mean, okay, first of all, I think the most useful thing to do when evaluating cards like this is to find something that is very adjacent to this, as close as we can get, and say, is that card good? The one that exists already. For example, Baral, we have Goblin Electromancer, there's a bunch of cards that cost 2 mana that have similar stats. Some of them are 2/1s, Baral's a 1/3, the Electromancer 2/2, whatever. But none of those see play. None of those are good enough.
Yep.
So, like, Blue-Red Storm hasn't... Blue-Red Storm is the only archetype that would really play an Electromancer or Baral type effect or Ral type effect. So, if that deck is buried in the annals of history, it hasn't seen play in Modern for a long time. Is this suddenly going to be good enough to put a deck like that back on the map? No, they already have stuff like this. So, the flip is so weird here. Like, I mean, it's so inconsistent. There's no way to skew this in your favor. There's no way to break the randomness of it. Like, a lot of really powerful cards are symmetrical, and the way you break them is by breaking the symmetry, right? So if Narset says, or I don't know, players can't draw extra cards, and then you somehow break that and turn it off on your turn. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
A wrath that only wraths them and not you because of how you've set it up or whatever it is.
Ways to tap down your Howling Mind so that your opponent doesn't
Right.
draw your card. That kind of thing.
Back in the day, yeah. Tap your continuous artifact with your relic barrier. Anyway, but so there's no way to like make it go in your favor. But if you get lucky, it does. It's a 2-mana Planeswalker. So you play this, you untap, you cast your 1-mana cantrip, and if you get lucky and this flips, and it comes in with at least 3 loyalty, right? Every single time it flips, because it'll come in with 1 additional.
Yes.
So
at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes in. I mean, the Electrolyze -2 is not that impressive. Like 2 damage. Think about Modern right now and how big the creatures are. They all say 7 mana, 6 mana, whatever, in the top right corner. But as we know, this is Magic. Leyline Binding doesn't cost 6. Murktide Regent doesn't cost 7. Are you crazy? Never. So what are 2 damage? Like, yeah, you can kill maybe a Ragavan. Like, a lot of the big creatures that are coming in, Scion of Ugin or whatever the ridiculous Scion of Draco. Yeah. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like what is Electrolyze killing? This isn't like 20 or 15 years ago where Electrolyze was really good. So I don't know. You get an early Planeswalker. You still get the buff, the -1 to your spells, the kind of pump there. But you already had that. So I don't know. What are you getting by flipping this? I don't know. No, this is not good enough.
I completely agree. I feel like it's just kind of a Storm win more, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's just it's it's allowing you to do the thing that deck was already doing, and yeah, to your point,
Yeah.
that's still not good enough. It's still not competitive. So
Yeah, we can do this already. Yeah.
And the more any deck like that where you need to have a critical mass of spells, I'm always nervous about adding any number of non-spell cards, because it's like if I draw into this late in the game and I just need to find another ritual or another draw spell, and I get this, I'm gonna feel awful,
Yep.
It's only good if you get it early. We've seen so many of these. There's Electromancer. There's there's Brawl. There was even Will and Rowan had a recent version that was clearly trying to be like this. The flip card, I believe it was from Strixhaven, and it was just Rowan, Scholar of Sparks, and Will, Scholar of Frost. These never even saw the consideration of play. No one even I
3 mana. There's 2 mana cards that do this already. Why are we paying 3? So I don't know.
Anyway,
it's not going to happen. But I know that people love coin flips and just not literal coin flips, but just variants in general. So coin flips plus discover. They know how much people love Cascade, and they were like, we have to bring this back. It's every time they do a poll or a survey or whatever, people always choose Cascade. They love those kind of slot machine mechanics. They Breach the Multiverse is another card in the same vein, or Itali. They print a lot of these cards. There's more and more of these in the last couple of years than there have been in the previous 10 years. These weird flip cards off the top of the deck lottery kind of cards. I don't know what to call them, but. So flipping a coin here, people love this kind of stuff. So in Casual, in Commander, I bet you I know a guy with a dice rolling deck. It's all AFR cards and rolling d20s and flipping coins and this kind of stuff. So sure, I think it's a nod to that kind of stuff. The random Commander players who love these kind of effects, but not for constructed.
I think that's exactly it. And honestly, if you think about a constructed Storm deck, did they need to add a coin flip into every single spell? Those turns were long enough.
Yeah.
Anyway. So.
But anyway.
Yeah.
That one, no good.
Sold. If Ral's your favorite character, have fun. This card's probably going to be a cheap one. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But how about Sorin?
Sorin of House Markov.
Yes.
1/4 for 1 and a black with lifelink. Notably, legendary creature human noble as a creature type. This is before he got turned, or at least the human side, or the front side. Yes.
Yeah.
So 1/4 with extort and lifelink, and then at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, you flip him. So it's Orzhov life gain, and the backside is Sorin Ravenous Neonate, which is a 3 loyalty planeswalker, still has extort. So you don't lose that. +2, create a food token. -1, Sorin Ravenous Neonate deals damage equal to the amount of life you gained this turn to any target. Then -6, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Sorin.
Yeah. So interesting. Again, it just seems way too underwhelming for me. Gaining life is probably the least impactful thing you can do in a game of Magic. Extort was a really sweet mechanic. It's so weird seeing Extort come back. There are so many mechanics. Somebody actually, I can't remember what I saw. Somebody tweeted and said the number, and it was something ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. 40 something mechanics or something. But Extort is okay, but a 2 mana 1/4 lifelink, and then you've got to somehow get you attack with him and then play a spell and extort. That's still only 2 life. I don't know. Right. You're in a black-white life gain deck. Somehow you gain 3, then you flip it. He pluses to make a food.
Yeah.
What? He makes a food.
+2 to make a food. Well,
not a blood.
Not a blood. No.
A food. Why?
It's so funny because Flavor Flea, the moment that this character stops, eating what we consider food,
now
is
it's
when he's
food giveaway.
Food. But at the same time, he's a life gain walker, and food is the life gain thing. So mechanically, I get it, but Flavor Flea, it's very weird.
Flavor Flea, there's a lot wrong here. I heard somebody point out, why does Sorin look younger? Oh, I guess he looks younger than he does now. As soon as he got bitten, shouldn't he have not changed? Even on the backside, he looks like a younger version of himself. And it's hold up, he's a vampire. Shouldn't he be just stayed? If he looked like a boy like that when he got bit, then he should still be a boy. But he's grown into a man now. So let's not dwell on that too long, because otherwise your head's gonna start hurting. Mine, I was just like, I don't know, I don't care
a little
anymore.
bit. I
don't
also find it
want.
hilarious. The -6 reads like it's really powerful, but honestly, in a deck that's capable of gaining a bunch of life, the -1 is a full-on win con. You know,
Yeah,
like being
that
able to
could be
just
powerful.
if you gain, if you have some kind of infinite life gain, you know, a combo of which there are tons, just being able -1, blam, you're out. You know,
That could be sweet. That
that's kind of
is
fun.
no, that's real.
So
I
there
mean,
might be something
in
there.
modern, there's Soul Sisters. There's the Soul Sisters is really the only life gain deck I can think of. But maybe you don't even need to play all the actual Soul Sisters. You just play Martyr of Sands and those kind of cards, and then maybe you do what you said, but gaining infinite. So maybe you could. Guess you'd have to splash black for this. The other deck that gains infinite is Heliod, of course, right? The Heliod combo,
Yeah.
they'll gain infinite life, but that's usually a green-white deck. I mean, you'd have to be Abzan, but maybe that could be a thing. That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, if you
still think-
Coco into this, then that's all of a sudden an extra.
But aren't
Yeah,
you
but
like
You already,
when
if
you're already
making infinite squirrels.
Yeah.
then what-
exactly? Do you need to do this?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? So. Interesting.
Yeah.
These cards, they all feel like a flavor injection here. Like they put these in here just to like kind of do a cool little cycle as an homage to these iconic, planeswalkers that have been around for so long. None of them seem really pushed. None of them seem too powerful. Like when considering context, modern and what decks are doing.
Right. Which is so funny because you look at these and like in a vacuum, looking at it as a commander player, these all look busted in their own right. But yeah, the moment you think of it in the context of a modern Horizons set, it's like, but
60 card.
Are they any So yeah, it's interesting. Well, we have one other one that I want to talk about, and I think it's gonna be an interesting one. And I definitely want to get your thoughts. So Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student. She's back. 0/3 flying for a single blue. Whenever Tamiyo attacks, you investigate. So that's okay. 0/3 flyer with a relevant attack trigger. And then when you draw your third card in a turn, that's when you flip her. And she flips into Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar, who is a 2 loyalty walker with no passive. +2 until your next turn. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets -1, -0 till end of turn. -3, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, you add 1 mana of any color. -7, draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, rounded up. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size.
Wow. Yeah. That ultimate's real. Holy crap. Right? But I like this a lot. I think, and I'm sure there are people listening going, yeah, he likes the blue card, of course. Douchebag.
I thought you'd have feelings on this one of all of them, yeah.
This one, okay, I mean, and I'm not, but honestly, I don't base my, but other people think, they think I like cards just because they're the color that I happen to enjoy. No, this seems like the best one of all of them. I mean, it's 1 mana, so it's the same. The only other one that was this cheap was Grist. And this one has evasion, so it should be pretty easy to get in with, especially on turn 1. It not only has evasion, but 3 toughness for 1 mana means you get to block Ragavan, you get to block, maybe a Delve. Well, no, not really, not unless it flips, but if it flips, it gets through. But you attack into whatever here, basically, on the ground, you don't care, and you get to draw a card, draw a card. I mean, you have to pay 2 mana to draw, but it's not bad. What if you play this on turn 1? And then, you attack, make a clue. I guess you wouldn't be able to do it till turn 3. So you could maybe flip this on turn 3. If you have double, cantrip on turn 2, I guess you could flip this. Yeah. But the flip is actually interesting. I think I underestimated that kind of effect until your next turn. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker control, it gets -1/-0. That ability we've seen before on 4 mana Jace, Architect of Thought. He was in the best decks in Standard the entire time. He was legal in Standard. He was seeing play as a 4/of. He was very powerful, and that's when I started getting a lot of respect for that kind of ability. At first, people saw that card and they did not think it was going to be that great, and it ended up being awesome in Standard. The +1, just making all of your opponent's creatures get -1/-0 when they attack, was actually very relevant, especially early. So remember, Jace came in on 4 loyalty, went up to 5. This is on turn 4. She goes up to 4 loyalty on turn 3. So usually by that time, like at that early in the game, like if you get her on turn 1, you flip her on turn 2 or 3, and she goes up to 4 loyalty and your opponents can't attack her for much damage, then she always survives. And if you untap with her in play and you get to start getting value off her -3, then that's interesting. But so then I try and think, what deck would want that, you know? And it's like, I mean, it has to be like a blue-red spells, kind of like playing a lot of cheap cantrips, the Delver style. What is it called? Murktide Regent style deck, right?
Yeah.
That kind of archetype. So, did they want this? Like, I don't know. Like, you're in the same spot as Ragavan and Delver. It is interesting though. I feel like, yeah, flipping a Planeswalker. This one seems very easy to flip quickly in a deck that's just playing cantrips, and then going up to 4 loyalty and making your opponent's creatures not do much damage to you is actually a really annoying card to get off the board for the opponents. Usually the opponents that -1/-0 to all the creatures. A lot of time that's how they're killing it, but I don't know. That was, that other Jace was around in Standard. That was a long time ago that we didn't have leyline bindings and things like that, that just like prismatic endings and all the cards that can just, boop, just eat this instantly for, 1 mana or whatever. So I don't know. But again, it's 1 mana. I love that mana cost means you're never trading down on mana, right? I mean, if they kill this, it's always they're either paying more than you did to deal with it, or so yeah, it's interesting, but again, it's just the bar is so high. I don't know.
No, absolutely. That's one of the things that I find myself when I'm looking at this card specifically, more than others. Actually, same thing with Grist, I suppose, where you look at it and it's like, this does have a lot of value. There are a lot of situations where it could be meaningful. Like, it's decent, but is it worth it? And then when you look back and realize, well, it is 1 mana. It's like, well, yeah, you're getting a lot.
Not that bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
So the only criticism that I've heard about this that I do think is noteworthy, just because of how popular the card is Bowmasters. Playing into Orcish Bowmasters. I mean, you're in a situation where if you get to that ultimate, you may not want to hit it if they have open mana. Because if they Bowmaster in response, you're just dead. Straight up. And so
you've got to be careful with the minus, but that's a bridge you cross when you come to it, because it's so unlikely that you even get there.
Just one good answer existing does not mean that the card is bad by any means. It's just that's something you got to be aware of, because Bowmasters is just so ubiquitous in all these formats.
Defines modern. For sure.
Yeah, and I know the other thing when it comes to Timeless specifically is we have Brainstorm in there. And so you could even flip Tamiyo on your opponent's turn with a Brainstorm. But again, be careful.
Oh, wow. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, you can Brainstorm on your opponent's end step. Yeah. And then it'll flip, and then you're going into your turn with a Planeswalker live. You didn't get to activate her on the opponent's turn, but you did get to flip her at a time when they weren't able to attack her, and you could probably catch them off guard. So, yeah.
Right. That's interesting, actually. Yeah, because I didn't even remember. Yeah, Timeless has Brainstorm. Like, I was thinking of Modern, but yeah, because as soon as you draw your 3rd card, she flips immediately. So, very interesting. Yeah, I could see it. This is the only one I think is going to see. Well, this and maybe Grist, I could see seeing some play, but I'm sure people are like Timeless. Who knows? I mean, people might try a life game deck built around Sorin, like you said, or whatever. But
people try it. I mean, people will be attempting with all of these, and I'll be interested to see what people come up with. But yeah, of all of them, I'm inclined to agree that Tamiyo is probably the one that could fit most readily. Yeah, it's funny, and because Bowmasters being legal on Arena as well totally changes a lot of decks there. I know some people were excited, like what is that elf card? The insect. Oh god, I can't think of the name now. He he bounces elves. He's in the elf combo deck. They just reprinted it. They put it into Modern. It's part of the elf, the legacy elf deck. The god, I can't remember. I'm gonna go find it. But anyway, the reason some of these elf cards are never gonna be that amazing either. Wirewood
Symbiote. Yeah. That's it. Wirewood
Symbiote. Yeah.
That guy's great, but again, like, it's a great fit for the elf deck, and it's a great card that would be good if elves was good. But the reality is, You're talking a small creature deck in a format where Bowmasters is legal. You can't, not even legal. It's one of the most played cards in the format.
Right.
It warps. This is what I mean by warping the format. Like these kind of decks, even though they give them a gift here with Wirewood Symbiote, they're not gonna be good enough. They're not gonna be. It doesn't matter that Elves gets this. There's just
Right.
you can't be an all-in Elves deck. But this is still such a weirdly powerful card that you might be able to do some kind of tutoring. Like you might be able to do some kind of combo with this without going all the way into elves and being a full elf deck. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I don't know. So, Wirewood Symbiote, if you're not familiar, I love that you brought this up, by the way, because I had a bunch of decks that played this back in the day. It's a 1/1 for 1 with the ability return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, activate only once each turn. You can activate that at instant speed, and the cool part is returning the elf is the cost. And so that cannot be responded to. So if you do choose to bounce one of your elves, by the time your opponent could fire off a removal spell on the elf, it's already gone. They can't do anything about it.
And I mean, you had
yeah,
Heritage Druid was tapping for triple green, and then you were untapping it and tapping for 3 more green, and that's how that deck generated so much mana and was able to go off and combo off and stuff. But again, like they put cards like this into Modern. It's like, is it good enough? Merfolk's another one where it's a kindred deck that is very susceptible to Bowmasters, where they've got a bunch of negate effects, like they've got a bunch of cheap creatures and stuff. But if one Bowmaster slips through and starts shooting things, that's it. You're so many resources down trying to deal with it. That's
absolutely.
But yeah.
There's a Merfolk card that we actually haven't touched on, so if we could just go off our show notes for a second, I really want to get your feeling on this. Harbinger of the Seas. 2/2 for 3, non-basic lands are islands. I'm affectionately referring to this as Flood Moon.
Flood Moon.
So
yeah, I like it. I mean, okay, so how good are these types of effects? It's very narrow. And it punishes only the greediest decks that are playing, like the 5-color deck that is playing the ley line and everything. How does that? I gotta read the ley line. Does the ley line overrule this? No, I don't think it does. The guild pack?
I think it would. Right? I think it'd be a timestamp issue, whichever one came in last. I think is what matters. Okay. So if the ley line of the guild pact was on the field first, and then a player plays this, I believe this overwrites it. I think is how that works. Layers are weird, though.
Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So the tri-lands are all the basics, plus they're also non-basics. So this would actually overrule the ley line and make them all islands, I think. I'm pretty sure. So then that means... So it's good against that deck. Like, what are the other decks here? Like, Amulet Titan, maybe, is relying on a lot of non-basics.
Yeah. And a lot of 3-color good stuff decks. But at the same time... People know to fetch their basics. Like, people have been playing around Blood Moon for a long time.
Blood Moon, right?
Yeah. So now when they're going up against blue, they need to be aware of it too.
Yeah. It'll catch people off guard initially, I think, but after people realize it's something that blue decks will bring in, or Merfolk specifically will have these in their sideboard or whatever, people will play accordingly. So, but I think it's interesting. I don't know. These effects in general are really the debate that I think is interesting here. Like, not this card in particular, but just, should Blood Moon effects be legal? Should they be good? Should they be pushed, maybe? Like, I know there's people who hate when the mana's too good. Like, they think that if everybody can play all the colors, it's not good Magic. It's too magical Christmas land. Everybody gets to have their cake and eat it too, and that's bad. There should be some give and take there with mana bases. But other people say, no, it's better when we don't have to worry about our mana base, because it opens up all these other decks that people could play, whereas, otherwise if the mana sucks, we just can't play X or Y or Z. And I've seen both ends of that spectrum and been unhappy with either end. Both of them are bad. I know what people are saying on both sides. So where do you find the balance? Like, I think these cards, I think they're good. I think this is fine. I think it's like when they print something like Fulminator Mage or something, people get really triggered by the land destruction. Or I think this is so narrow that nobody should be, Blood Moon. Those kind of cards suck, but I think this is still okay. I like it on a creature. I think an enchantment is much worse because an enchantment's harder to deal with.
Right, because
Um,
yeah, exactly. Those Rakdos decks, like they could just float their black mana, kill it on after it comes down, and then so be it. Yeah, like it's not
yeah,
not the end of the world. I think this is going to be significantly easier to deal with,
yeah,
unless of course the Merfolk players are protecting it with counter magic and whatnot,
maybe.
which I'm sure they're working on. I'm sure that's the plan, but still,
Yeah,
yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, and
yeah.
that is
There's
interesting discussion though about the mana bases. Like, where do we want it to be? Because I do like when the mana
yeah.
bases are conducive for deck brewing, but at the same time, I also don't love it when they're super open and everybody has perfect mana all the time. Like, there's something that
Yeah.
doesn't feel right about that. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
it is weird. I think it's exacerbated by the cards that are in the format. Like again, in standard, when we have all the tri-lands and we still have leyline bindings and
Yep.
stuff. Like, it had the tri-lands rotated when they did. I don't think it would be as, I don't know, maybe as big of an issue, but maybe it still would be. But just, yeah, I know. So it's weird right now in standard. I hear it a lot. People complaining about that, especially when domain was making up 20% of the metagame, and it's like they could just pick up whatever random Archangel of Wrath. Sure, it's got 3 colors, and we're base green, and none of these colors are green, but it doesn't matter. We can throw it in there.
Matter.
Double white cards, double black cards, like yeah, they're all fine. So yeah, but I think it's worse. I'd rather have a feast than famine. You know what I mean? I'd rather have the mana fixing fall on maybe too good than fall on the side of not good enough, because what you said, like, I think the worst thing that can happen in a format is when deck building and options are stifled, and it's restricted by the mana that's available or whatever the art of the reason is. Standard's usually not quite as good, but because again, there's so many options that I think the more decks that exist, the better. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's an interesting
100%.
debate, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens after the rotation. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the mana is going to be in standard. I think it'll still be pretty good. But
actually, honestly, I don't anticipate rotation is going to change that much. I mean, the Esper deck is going to take a hit because Rafine is leaving. With the Domain deck is going to take a hit because the Triomes are leaving. But honestly, that's like the only piece of that deck that's actually leaving. The World Souls Rage deck is going to stop being a thing because those new Capenna fetches that really make the whole thing churn, those are gone. So, I'll be shocked if that deck all of a sudden starts bringing in like Terramorphic Expanse to try to do the same thing. Like, that's not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Some people out there might try it. It's not going to work the way you want it to.
But you're right. Yeah, a lot of the decks aren't going to lose too much.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the power creep over the last few years has, a lot of decks have drifted into being not quite rotation proof, but more rotation resistant than maybe we would like. I don't anticipate a huge shift. So,
well, I was playing Blue White Control last week, and people were asking me, because right now it's arguably one of the best decks in standard, but there's a bunch of really good decks in standard, but people are saying, how much do you think, like, is this deck going to be viable post rotation? And I said, yeah, of course. Like, what do you mean? Not even close. And they were like, really? Just like that? You're not even like, you don't think it'll be a lot worse? I'm like, well, like that's dependent on the other decks in the metagame and all that stuff, but how much is this deck really losing? Like, I think people overvalue, like, Wandering Emperor is great, and Memory Deluge is the best draw spell we've seen in a long time.
Sure.
But
yeah, those are big
cards,
losses, but
yeah, those can be replaced. Yeah, exactly. Like Memory Deluge, there's a bunch of good draw spells. Like, we'll be fine. No More Lies still exists. 3 Steps Ahead still exists. Those are the deck, and Sunfall and Temporary Lockdown. The the foundation of the deck. What we kill them with doesn't matter. We can change Wandering Emperor for that new Sphinx that has flash, Stoic Sphinx, or I don't know. I'm just throwing, just random, any flash like threat like that could be good in that spot. Memory Deluge can be other card draw spells. So I think there's some decks that are not going to go away, and I hope people don't take that too negatively. I think some people are going to be shocked by that, and see, rotation happened and it's still the same stupid decks on top or whatever. Like,
I'm anticipating that. I honestly do expect that reaction. Which because it's kind of unfortunate, but
but the format's still huge. I mean, just rotation. It's only 1 year of sets basically dropping off. A year and a half. Like, we've still got a lot of sets still legal because of this expanded rotation or this expanded standard format. So
right. We'll be going
see.
from the biggest standard I think we've ever had to the second biggest standard that we've
exactly
had.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see. I think a lot of decks are still going to be very similar. The best decks are still going to be the best decks. I don't know, but Bloomborough, who knows, right? I mean, they could print some ridiculous set mechanic that's like energy or something, but a new form of that.
Who knows?
And suddenly it's just we're back to oh boy. I mean, Bant Toxic's still going to be around, and that deck is basically a one set deck. Like that is a deck that all the cards are from one or two set. Brothers War and no, not even Brothers War. I don't even think they're playing. Yeah, it's just all will be one is all the cards in that deck. So they're not going anywhere. That deck is not going to change till that set rotates, and then it's going to be completely gone.
You don't often see a draft archetype just become a constructed deck. You see people try to do it, but it rarely works. That one totally worked.
In fact, it was the same the last time around too. But so we'll see. I'm looking forward to that Modern Horizons 3 set on Arena. I think it's we need something like that. Right now there's just standard it feels so stale, and I've been drafting Chromatic Cube all week. They put the cube back up last week, which is really fun. I could wax for hours about the cube. I love cube, and Chromatic Cube's not even the best cube. It's just whatever. The Arena Cube's better, I think, but it's been fun. But at least we get something else to do starting next week. We've got the that new set dropping, so join us for that. And,
it'll be interesting to see. And even if you don't play Historic or Timeless, if you've ever been curious about draft, from what I hear, Horizon sets, I've drafted Modern Horizons 2 once. But I don't actually go out to the store and draft in person anywhere near as often as I should.
Same.
But yeah, I drafted Modern Horizons 2 one time, and I got absolutely smoked, but I had a blast. And that's at the end of the day, the sets just Horizon sets tend to be very powerful and a ton of fun to draft.
They're really well done.
Even if you're not planning on playing, Timeless or Historic, I would anticipate a lot of these cards in Modern Horizons 3 will be relevant in those formats for a long time to come. So there's kind of no downside to jumping in and trying to draft them now if you want that experience, because the cards that you end up getting on the client could be worthwhile. So, down the road.
And new sets are great. I mean, I think a lot of people are getting a little tired of OTJ at this point. So yeah, a new set to draft is always fun. And like you said, like these master sets are very, very well done for limited. I've drafted a bunch of them in real life, and I don't think I've ever not enjoyed whether it was Modern Masters and then, Double Masters, Ultimate Masters, and Modern Horizons. I think I drafted all of them, and they were all fun. Yeah, they were all really good. They feel like little cubes almost, like a slightly powered down cube. But it's funny because like OTJ, I said the same thing about OTJ. OTJ with all the bonus sheets and them jamming the big scorecards in there, it didn't feel like a normal set. It felt like drafting a cube almost, like a powered down cube. So when the normal sets already feel like a powered down cube, it maybe kind of diminishes the Modern Horizon sets. Like they used to feel like kind of a mini cube. Now they probably just feel like a slightly more powerful regular set. I mean, if we're basing it on OTJ, right?
Probably.
Which is really weird.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that actually is kind of echoing a comment that you made a couple weeks ago when we were talking about silver borders, because you mentioned that the normal sets are already kind of getting silly, so us doing silly sets doesn't really, there's no contrast, it just kind of feels like the same thing. This sounds like it's the same deal, where it's like, well, if the normal sets are getting super powerful, are the super powerful sets special? Well, not in the same way that they used to be. I mean, not that this won't be some kind of special set. We'll see, but
it's exactly the same thing.
Isn't as
the floor, like if you could plot the rate at which the floor rises compared to how quickly the ceiling rises on the power level of cards in Magic, the floor rises much more quickly than the ceiling. I mean, great cards are great, but they're only getting slightly better and better and better. But the worst cards, like again, people who haven't been playing the game for 20, 30 years like I have, don't know that how bad the creatures were, and how bad a lot of the spells were, and how bad a lot of the cards were. In Limited, not even for Constructed, Limited, you had to struggle to make playables. If you weren't in the right lane and you weren't in the right colors, you could end up with a disaster. When they call it a train wreck draft, it doesn't mean you missed your signpost uncommons, but I've still got a green-white saddle deck or whatever. No, you literally had to, your mana base was atrocious because you had to splash a third color, and not for your bombs, you just had to splash to make playables. That kind of stuff would happen. And now
you're rocking vanilla 2/5s for 4, trying to make it work. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And now it's just like the floor is so much higher. There are no unplayable cards in
No.
limited. I mean, even the worst quote unquote, lowest win rate cards or whatever on 17 lands, whatever barometer you want to use to gauge them, are still totally fine. They're more than capable in the game of doing, whatever it is they're designed to do. So, the difference between a really powerful set and a not so powerful set is kind of getting smaller and smaller. And yeah, so as power creep goes up, I mean, the best cards don't seem like that gap is much smaller. There's less contrast, like you said. So it kind of demystify, or not demystify, it kind of like they lose that aura of like, whoa, the bomb mythic in this set. So amazing, Now it's just like there's 18 bomb mythics because they literally put 40 mythic cards in this bonus sheet into the set. It's like,
right.
I don't. Like, yeah, so...
It's like, man, I only had 6 mythics in my sealed pool. Like, dude, what are we talking about here? Yeah.
Like, back in the day, it was like, oh, were you drafting double masters? Yeah, dude, I have like 8 rares in my deck. It's crazy. Now it's like, no, I'm just drafting the normal set and I have 12 rares in my deck because every pack has 3 or 4 rares. So, like, the highs aren't as high because now the floor is so high. Like, I'm not, So this Master set, or Modern Horizon set feels, well, it doesn't feel, we haven't played with it yet, but it looks cool. It looks like your typical Modern Horizon set, but that doesn't carry the same weight that it used to. So
yeah, absolutely. And
we'll see.
Being a little bit of a Magic boomer, they're reprinting, they gave us a new Watchwolf.
Oh, is this Watchwolf?
It's effectively Watchwolf. So Watchwolf, if you're not familiar, is a 3/3 for green-white, and that's it. It's just a 3/3 for green-white.
And it was standard playable. Solid.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And back in Ravnica City of Guilds, that was like constructed playable, like
limited all-star.
Slam bomb.
Great limited card. Yeah.
And we now have Faithful Watchdog in Modern Horizons 3, and this is a common. And honestly, I can't imagine it being particularly impressive. It's a 0/0, but it enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it, and it also has Vigilance.
Watchwolf did not have Vigilance.
Watchwolf did not have Vigilance, and this also has counter synergies, so Proliferate or any of that jazz you can take advantage of as well. So it's
the Watchdog.
Yeah, Faithful Watchdog. It's a fitting kind of homage, I think. But to give you an idea, yeah, we went from the vanilla without that stat line being the bomb,
and that was uncommon,
like the mythic uncommon of the set or whatever, or at least a very good uncommon in the set, to now this just being a filler common that you're just you'll pick it up late in a draft and be happy with, or midway through a draft and be okay with. Yeah,
and honestly, like, this is a common from Modern Horizons 3, which is supposed to be again a more powerful set overall. Like, all the cards should be better than your average set. But honestly, I look at this and if you told me, like, if I had not played with OTJ and never seen any of the cards, and you said, oh yeah, this is a card from OTJ, I would have went, yeah, wow, that looks powerful. But that's pretty much, that's what I'm used to now in standard in a regular set. Like, that doesn't even look that pushed for a regular standard set. So I don't know. It's power creep's crazy. So I don't know where this ends, because again, you can't keep pushing the ceiling higher because the cards are already so ridiculous. Like, but now the floor is catching up to the ceiling, so it's like I don't know where it goes from here. But regardless, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great set. I think it's going to be a very complex set. I think a lot of new players, there's so many mechanics that a lot of players probably have never heard of, first of all, and played with, second. I mean, you can read a mechanic and go, oh yeah, it does that. But then you get in game and you're like, oh, but they can do that with it, and like, oh my god, you got to see it in action, some of these mechanics, to really appreciate how the things they can do. So there's going to be a lot of people learning very quick lessons about things like energy and other stuff, and how broken that can be.
Very true. And Annihilator doesn't sound too bad when you read it, but when you take a hit from it, whoo, it hurts. So yeah.
We'll see what happens with all the Eldrazi and everything. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. Yeah, and we got MDFCs. We got some legacy freaking All Stars finally coming to Modern with cards like Kappa Cannoneer and whatnot. Like, this is gonna be wild. Like, it's gonna be really interesting to see how things shake out.
I would love to see an artifacts deck. Like, I want to see like a big mana artifacts deck. Urza's still around. I mean, you've got some very powerful cards in Modern that care about artifacts, but low to the ground aggro affinity, like, meh. Give me the big, like, I want to see some big chonkers coming down and some crazy, make it like infinite mana with all these artifacts and do something wild. Brain, I was gonna say Brain Geyser, Blue Sun Zenith you to death or something. Draw all your cards.
It's got to be out there. There's got to be a way. We got to make it happen.
We'll
Love it.
see. But where can
We
people
will see.
catch all this
Yeah.
MH3 content?
So yeah, there's a lot of Modern Horizons 3 coming to a web browser near you here in the near future. So this upcoming Wednesday, June 5th, we are going to be doing the early access event. A number of members of Team MagicJank are going to be in that. We're going to be doing all kinds of weird brews. So hit us up on all of our various streams before then as well, so we can, you know, take your ideas and try to turn them into viable strategies, so that, you know, we can try to take on Jim Davis or Saffron Olive with them when the when the time comes. And yeah, Damien, I'm glad to hear that you're in there too. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I have no doubt we're going to bump into each other on the ladder. That's going to be great. I say the ladder. It's a play queue where we're all just, you know, it's just a big sandbox where a whole bunch of content creators are
cool
trying
knowing.
Yeah,
and it's cool knowing that these people I'm playing against are not just like, you know, random people who aren't like they're playing while they're on the toilet or whatever at their like. These are people who are mostly like serious about the game, playing a lot. They probably have a whole community watching them, and I've got my community watching me. So now it's like it feels like it's like we're at a big sporting event or something here, or something. There's more on the line, or
and
I don't know.
It's a blast too. I've had a couple of times where I'll get paired up against like Ash Lizzle or Crokies or one of these some of these folks who have these gigantic audiences, and I'll watch my concurrent viewership go from like, you know, pretty good to like all of a sudden bump up like during that match because their audience is coming into mine to look at my hand and watch. And I don't think people are like sending information back or anything crazy like that. I don't think like because there are no stakes. We're doing this for fun. I think they just want to see both sides of it and kind of like hear, you know, both commentary as the match is going on. Because getting that perspective from both, you know, participants is fun. So
and it's great when you beat them. It feels great
awesome
to beat them. And they're like they've got 1,000 people watching, and you just demolish them, and it's like
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
It really is. It's the best, you know. And one little tip for anybody out there, any other, you know, content creators who are participating, especially if this is like your first early access, always try to be like sporting, like no matter.
Don't salty rope people.
Don't salt rope people. Don't be rude. Like if you do take somebody down and you're getting that rush from it, that's okay. Like feel it, appreciate it.
Don't spam the GGs,
but don't be a jerk about it. You know, like so at the end of every match, no matter like whether it was good or not, say good game, like tip of the hat, well done. Like no matter even anyway, it just be cool. Like play nice. That's the bottom line.
And most people are great. I don't think I've ever encountered any kind of and that's why it's lovely. It's lovely because a lot of that stuff is what I get on the ladder usually, right? But playing against the content creators only, I never get that. So it's just like it's nice. I don't have to have toxic people spamming me and like, you know, your turn, good game, good like 3 turns before, and it's
little sleepy hedron or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've all seen that stuff. But yeah, so that's coming up. Yeah, that's coming up on the 5th. So we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. And, you know, Damien and myself, and I know Carla's in there, a number of other team members are in there as well. We're going to be doing we're going to be online all freaking day. And there are going to be tons of folks. So if you want to be engaged with, you know, Twitch and you want to see what's going on, that's going to be it. Wednesday, the 5th. You know, just be out there. It's going to be fantastic. And then MTGO is also having a streamer event, and I know Carlo C. Favorite Jr. is going to be participating in that, and that's going to be on the 7th, so that Friday. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, it's gonna be an absolute delight. So this week, keep an eye out, and then it's gonna be, you know, Modern Horizons 3 is gonna be hitting, I believe, entering, you know, coming to Arena next Tuesday. So next week, after all of this fanfare, it's gonna be coming to a timeless and historic ladder near you, and various draft queues, which I know are gonna be in fuego for those first few weeks, because they always are. It's gonna be great. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm going to also join a league. This is not associated with Wizards directly, but there's a great kind of organization called Arena Gauntlet in Canada. They I think it's the Canada and the States. They have affiliate stores, so you basically go to a store that is connected to them, and you buy your buy-in. It's like $8 or whatever. And then you join this league, and it's all run on Discord, and it's really, really well organized. I did a couple of these leagues when I think it was Streets of New Capenna and Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, I think was the first one I did. So for those of you out there, I know I ran a couple leagues in Korea when I was there, and I know a lot of people back here, they don't know what a league is. They when I say leagues, they're like, what do you mean? Like on Magic Online, like a best of like a 5-match league. It's like no, not that. They call those leagues, but a league is an event that takes place over weeks. And players play every week against other players in the league. So usually a lot of the leagues I played in were sealed. So this one I'm doing is a sealed league for Modern Horizons 3. So it's all done on Arena, but all the matches and everything are organized. There's a huge spreadsheet. Last time it was like 150 players or whatever. And there's standings. So week to week, you play against 3 players, whoever's available. You reach out to different players. You play your matches each week. And you record your results, and you both submit your results, and they keep track of everything, and people go up and down the standings. And after a few weeks, you've got, the top 8, and then they cut to a draft at the end, and there's prizes and everything. If you make it even, I think it's like the top 100 players get their money back. So it's really interesting. It's super cheap, and it's super fun. You start with a sealed deck, and every week you add a new pack. And so your deck gets better and better by the last. I think it runs for about 5 weeks. So at the end of the 5 weeks, everybody's decks are really ridiculous. And the top 8 players will have this special kind of event at the end with a draft and everything. It was really cool. And the organizer reached out to me again because I know him. He lives up here in Vancouver, and he was like, "Hey, you should join this time because we increased the prizes." And now basically, if you win even 1 match a week out of 3, you get your money back. Like, you just have to get in a bunch of people will drop. So he's like, just do it. And I'm like, okay, great. You know what? I will. So I'm going to be recording all of my matches as well for this league on stream. Nice. So I'll be updating everybody as well. And I encourage other people to join. So maybe I'll post a link or I'll give you a link. We'll put a link in the description as well for that if people are interested. Perfect. I know there's a big shop in Montreal that's who you pay if you're on that side of the country. And I would hear there's a shop in Vancouver you pay to, and you just send them, PayPal, you send your thing. Mm-hmm. And then in the States, I think there's a bunch of shops they're affiliated with. But again, you have to check on the Discord, and you basically find the shop that you want to pay or order your entry from, and you send the money. Anyway. But lots of ways to engage, and I love it. More and more stuff like this. You play on Matcherino, right? You've played things like our other fellow Jank member Isaiah. He's doing his weekly drafts. He organizes events on Matcherino and other stuff, and I love to see that. And these are like events that you're winning gems. Like, you can win hundreds or even thousands of gems. That's like essentially money you're winning for Magic Arena. Like, you are using that to enter events where you can win cash money or just buy a bunch of rare wild cards to fill out your decks rather than spending money in the shop. So get involved, and Magic's not a cheap hobby, so this is one of the ways to kind of mitigate the cost. Enter some free events like the Pizza Box tournament, which was sadly postponed, but that kind of stuff I love. So anyway,
absolutely. No, that sounds awesome, and I gotta say, a league like that, I've heard
Leagues
of
are
other
sweet.
Groups doing that. Like, I know of the VML, the Venus Mercury League, not associated.
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
do great work. Like, I know that they've been doing that too, and they actually do coverage of like matches, and they just have the participants record them, and then they'll do commentary after the fact, and like do a stream highlighting the matches of the feature matches for the week. And it's like, that's such a cool idea.
Great.
I love that.
Yeah, and they're doing a constructed league, which is different, but a limited league.
Yeah.
It feels like an RPG. It's got this weird, like, your deck evolves. It's like playing a video game where you level up or go through a perk tree. As you add packs to your deck, sometimes you go back to the drawing board and change the actual colors of your deck now that you opened this bomb or whatever. So your deck kind of evolves over the weeks. Like, it's really cool to see. I fell in love with those kind of leagues. I know Commander leagues are awesome. I think that's the best way to play Commander. I've been part of a couple leagues where they had custom sets of rules. I know Sheldon Menery came up with this. His league had, I don't know how many rules, and it was like, so basically, like, you would get points based on the things you did in the game. It didn't matter who won the game out of the 4 players playing Commander, who was the last person standing. What mattered was, did you put 20 creatures on the board? You got 3 points. Did you do this? This person took 5 turns in a row. They get -5 points. At the end, the person who won might not be the winner of the table because they might have done things that were too broken that the league would deduct points from you for. You know what I mean? So it helped to balance out all the power level, all the discrepancies between power between decks, right? So it would kind of, like, if you did something super broken, you were losing a lot of points. So even if you did kill everybody at the table, you wouldn't win that pod, and you wouldn't go on to the next round. And in the league standings, you wouldn't be moving up the standings. You know what I mean? So it was a kind of a way for them to make the leagues, encourage people to win, but do it in a fun way, not like kill the table on turn 2, like, you can do in CEDH. So leagues are awesome is what I'm saying, and get involved. There's lots of different kinds. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just really like them.
Love
And
it.
I encourage people to, if you see some shop or organization running a league, check it out, because the buy-in's usually really cheap. It's really cheap. And over the course of the league, you almost certainly will get your money back usually. So
Nice. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Anywho,
I'll have to check
anything.
that out, 'cause, yeah.
Oh, we do have one more thing on the docket.
Indeed.
Is it the question of the
So,
week time?
Yeah, I suppose it is question of the week time. So yeah,
All
this is a kind of a new tradition that you brought to us, which I appreciate, where we throw out a question each week, and just to kind of get some conversation going and get us thinking about things a little differently. And I got one today. So because we were looking at the Planeswalkers, one thing that in recent design space they've been doing a lot, as we all know, as we've all played into repeatedly. The number of times I've wheeled into a Narset. Anyway, Planeswalkers have these passive abilities. That's just kind of a new thing. And I was thinking, if Wizards were to design a Planeswalker based on each of us, what passive would they put on it?
Okay, wait. So you're asking what passive do we want,
Planeswalker card that was you,
or what passive do we deserve? Which, like, are you saying based on us? Okay, so we don't choose.
Either
They're
is
just
totally
like,
acceptable, but
oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, yeah. I don't. Let's either
Okay.
both. What do we got? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it would be something really obnoxious. It would be like, either a passive that says whenever an opponent plays, I don't know, like a non-creature spell, they have to pay one more mana or something, or like a Ristic Study effect, like pay extra mana or I draw cards, something like that. That'd be too good, but. Yeah, something to do with countering or drawing cards, I imagine, would be the static on my Planeswalker, which
There you go.
I would hate to play against. I would absolutely loathe that. How about you, Ham?
Nice.
What would they put on your card?
I mean, for me, the kind of effect that I would like to see as a reanimation enthusiast, I would love to see something along the lines of every time your opponent draws a card, you may draw a card, then discard a card. Let me loot for every time they draw. I know, right? That would obviously be absurd. Like, that would be nuts. Or maybe the trigger needs to be something a little less, like less common than that. Maybe if an opponent draws a second card in a turn, or like for any card beyond the first, maybe make it like a Bowmaster effect, except I'm looting instead of,
That'd be cool. Or what about a Planeswalker? What if a Planeswalker said, you pay 2 mana less for any spell that targets your graveyard, or any spell you play out of your graveyard, like Flashback, or
I'm down.
or any card that targets the yard. That would be sweet for a Reanimator deck. I could see that.
Actually, you know what? That's perfect, because when you look at older reanimation effects, a lot of them cost like 1 and 2, and nowadays we almost never see that. Like in Standard, they've made a very clear line in the sand. If a reanimation spell is going to cost less than 5, it's coming with a phenomenal drawback. Like that's just how it is.
Squirming Emergence is the one I'm thinking of.
Squirming Emergence is a bit of an exception, yeah. But
or
even
Reenact.
Reenact is, I love Reenact.
It's narrow though, right? I mean, but what you're saying,
4 blue, but yeah,
it's true. They make it hard, right?
Yeah,
but
they
Squirming Emergence is another one. That's why I thought Squirming Emergence is still very powerful, and I really hope to see that deck come back in Standard after rotation. Right now, the graveyard hate is so fierce that you can't really get away with a deck like that. But once the Temur Fireballs decks moves on, then I think we're going to see a lot less graveyard hate in Standard, and maybe the time for the Squirming Emergence to shine is nigh. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I know. Yeah, you like
Same here.
Cruelty of Gix is another one.
I love that
Cruelty
stuff.
of and some of those cards are so powerful, right? I mean, Cruelty is so much more than just the reanimation spell. But
Cruelty's nuts. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I remember playing Bond of Revival back in the day, and like I love that stuff. It's just my favorite kind of thing. So yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of honestly though, if it was that's the point. That's the passive I would like to have. The passive that if it was actually trying to represent me, it would be something to the effect of like every time I draw a card, my opponent may draw a card. It would be like opposite Consecrated Sphinx, because I'm always trying to like, and even with my card choice in Commander decks, you can see it. I'm always trying to like group hug the table. Like I don't, it's not that's not the whole goal of the deck, but I have a lot of those cards. Like I've unironically played Fecundity in a couple of my decks, which it's not a good card. Like it's strictly it's never correct, because whenever a creature dies, its controller just may draw a card. Like, I played this against a Kai card deck one time. Like, why would, what am I doing? But it's just, I love giving my, but they're in Commander. I love doing that because I love supporting the entire pot. I want to see everybody at the table do the thing that the deck is trying to do, because I'm there to make sure that we're all having fun. I'm much more concerned with having fun than winning the game. And so a passive that has some kind of goofy group hug effect, you know, to hopefully counterbalance something else that's super powerful it's doing. But
and you can still do powerful stuff by simply breaking the symmetry. Like, if your deck is doing a lot of sacrificing or whatever, and well, your fecundity is going to be better. It's going to be better for you than it will be for your opponent, right? So there are ways to try and break that kind of synergy and do it. And that's what I like about Magic. And for all the years I played it, the cards just didn't give you everything on a silver platter without asking for something in return. Force of Nature and Lord of the Pit and all these cards that I used to play with were so epic. Not just because they were the biggest thing on the battlefield and looked amazing and were incredibly, you know, powerful, but they demanded something of you. And if you didn't pay that price, you were getting trashed by this thing. That makes it feel so much more powerful when I'm even scared of it. It's like bringing a dog to the park and you're like, I can barely control. If this dog decides to bolt, I'm going for a ride. I want this giant, you know, whatever, mastiff or something.
I love it.
It was the same kind of thing. And now, like, cards don't have a drawback, so I just get to go Questing Beast and look at all the things it does, or, you know, whatever. Bonnie Paul, like, dear God.
Oh my goodness.
Why can't we have a drawback at least? Like, make me, if the Ox doesn't attack, it slaps me in the face for 17 damage or whatever. I don't know.
Something, exactly. Yes.
But yeah, like in that Teamer Fireballs deck, you'll play Bonnie Paul and the thing will be a 17/17, the Ox, and you're just like, really? This is okay, well. And they don't even have, and it immediately gets value when they attack. Like, I miss the days when they had drawbacks. So, like, Fecundity is another one. If you're going to print a powerful effect, make it, you know, either symmetrical so that you have to do some work to break it. Or, you know, if it's so powerful, like Necropotence, take away their draw step. Like, they thought that was a way to balance that. But people, like, that's how awesome this game is and how creative people are. They found a way to get around it, and it ended up being so broken. They had to ban this card back then in Standard, because in Type 2, because it was, you know, they thought they had the drawback covered and it wasn't enough, right? And we've seen that happen too, where they try and, like, look at Discover, right? They tried to do Cascade again, and it was very apparent that the ingenuity of the community is such that, you know, the drawback has to really be well thought out, because people will get around it, and they did, and that was like week 1 of Pioneer. Bang! New combo deck, super broken. Suddenly, like, you know, there were decks that just could not beat this, and they just disappeared from the metagame until it got banned.
Just immediately out of here. Yep. That was
anyway.
Good stuff.
No, go ahead. What? It was
just the Geological Appraiser ban. I'm still amazed at how fast they did that. Like, they recognized that no, we have a problem, because that deck was it was seriously just, you get to 4 mana and therefore you win. It's like that was silly.
There were a couple decks that could interact, but so few. Yeah. So anyway, I'd love to see them go back to that dynamic of, like, you know, you're getting something really great and powerful, but you gotta pay the price, or you've got to find a way to be sneaky and mitigate that price, or like break that synergy that your opponent's also getting this benefit. I mean, I feel like that's just gone now. Now you just get it all, and so it just basically becomes a format where, you know, or a game where people are just throwing their biggest things at every spot on the curve at you, and it's just a matter of whose things are bigger or more effective at killing the other person. I just played Chromatic Cube last week. I know I'm rambling now, and we should probably wrap it up, but
we'll get there.
The Commander, Chromatic Cube. You know, this cube is all about playing big dinos, big, huge, swingy things. And so you can tell when you look at the list, they make a deliberate effort to, you know, the counter magic's really bad. It's all 4 mana, 5 mana. There's no 2 mana counter magic. There's no, you know, really cheap, effective sweepers. There's like 2 sweepers that are 5 mana. One's like 7 mana. You can tell they don't want people to be able to break up what each other is doing. It's almost like Momir, right? We're all just going to slam our stuff, and, you know, whoever's is better. So I'm just, okay, like, we're drafting the ramp deck almost every single draft. We're just, like, whoever gets to do their thing faster and more consistently, like we get to ramp to our 7-drop first, like. And so, I don't know, it's fun at first, and you're like, this is crazy. Like, I'm taking, Time Walk, copying it with Ral or Chandra, and I'm taking 4 turns, and I'm doing all this other busted stuff, Zakama and everything. But then you do it a bunch, and it gets stale so quickly. It's just like, it's the same thing, everybody's doing the same thing, and the games don't really, we're both throwing such haymakers at each other. It's pure luck. It's like whoever draws more of them, whoever slams theirs first, whoever's line up better against the other person's. And it kind of, it's weird.
It's funny you mention that because I've definitely been in Commander pods that felt that way. Where it's like,
Commander's like that.
These 2 decks are just going super wide with tokens. That one had a Cathar's Crusade, so they just have more power. I guess we're done. Like, you did the thing, and that thing should be exciting and fun. But the fact that it never went unchecked results in the whole game kind of being... I don't know.
Well, at least
it's not as exciting. Like when somebody has to, when there's an obstacle and then you overcome it and still succeed, that's when things get really cool. When you just do the thing and just win, it's kind of like, oh, okay. I don't know. I love the interaction in Magic. I love it. And I think it's what makes it special. Yeah.
And Commander has a ton of interaction. Like Commander, there are answers to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this the cube, they literally designed it to not have a lot of really good answers. Like, there's some spot removal and stuff, but when everything ETBs and draws a card or makes 3 bodies or does like something crazy, trading 1-for-1 removal is just not good enough, right? So other formats, it's at least there's some answers and stuff, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with this set. I think a lot of the cards look really pushed. There's some really broken self-contained engines and stuff, so. And the limited format should be great. That has a track record of being awesome. So I'm looking forward to it, and hope we have fun. Did you want to touch on Command Fest at all before we wrap it up? Atlanta?
Sorry, no, that actually I should have removed that from the.
Oh no,
there is Command Fest Atlanta coming up, so keep an eye out for that. We have some folks who will be present for that. So that's the thing. Keep an eye on the social media. There is links in the description. Follow MagicJank at all the places for updates on what we're doing. And so, Damien, thank you so much for joining. I suppose, now the time has come. I could ramble about Magic for another 6 hours, but you're right. We should probably take it in for a landing. So could you tell the folks out there, when you're on the internet, where can they find you and what can they find when they get there?
So, great news. Regular news. I'm on Twitch every single day, basically 6 days a week. Monday to Friday, we're playing Magic. Saturday, I'm usually playing other games, unless there's some special event happening in Magic. But I started a YouTube channel for just Magic. I had a lot of people telling me, like, I wanted to keep YouTube separate. I put 1 or 2 Magic events on my YouTube channel, but I had a lot of people watching from Twitch who wanted me to put stuff on YouTube. So I made a separate channel. So I've got Damien F16 on Twitch, and then Damien F16_Magic on YouTube, and then my regular YouTube channel is still just Damien F16. If you want to check out all the non-Magic games, we've got a Hades 2 playthrough that just started, which is I love that game. And Magic, we've already put a bunch of episodes. I think the 4th one just dropped today. So the channel is brand new, and I could use all the support I can get. So
let's go.
Damien F16 on Twitch, Damien F16_Magic on YouTube. And then MTG Circle, we've still got articles coming out every week. I know you are writing as well for them, so check out my articles on mtgcircle.com. Where can they find you, Ham?
Yeah, so I'm also writing over at MTG Circle. I also stream on Twitch Monday through Friday in the mornings. Start at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, doing all kinds of weird janky brews. And this particular week, I'm going to be streaming entirely too long. My plan on Wednesday is to actually do my very first subathon, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to hopefully be very, very long, because we have the early access event on Wednesday. And then, if I'm honest, my birthday is coming up on Friday. So I decided, why not celebrate by working all hours
torturing
of the day,
myself,
right? Like
yeah.
But
nice.
I figured that's a fun excuse to just play Magic all day for days, and so that's the plan.
Great.
Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how long people want to keep me around. But Monday through Friday, I'm doing that. And I also have a YouTube channel. I'm trying to do more like shorts and more like dedicated like talking head direct to camera stuff. I'm trying new things over there. So if you wouldn't mind dropping by and leaving a sub, I would appreciate it. It's free on YouTube, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
And I'm also doing shorts just all over the interwebs, just on all the places, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. They're all the same in all the places, just depending on which one the algorithm feeds you, depending on which platform you're on. And it's wild. I'm learning so much about social media with this, because I'll have one where like on YouTube Shorts, it'll get like 1,000 views. Then on TikTok, it'll get like 5. And then the exact opposite will happen. Where like on YouTube Shorts, I'll get like a dozen views, and then on TikTok, it'll explode. And it's just like, why? Exact same content, exact same tags, everything. Whatever. Anyway.
Interesting.
That's a little experiment I'm trying to figure out on the back end, but that's my own frustration. We don't need to get into that. But you can find me on the places. Talk about Magic, because I freaking love Magic. It's great. So yeah. And Damien, thank you I did not know about your Magic channel. I definitely need to make sure that that's linked and present and all that jazz.
Yeah, I'll give you the link too. I don't think I
immediately. Yeah.
Thanks. I didn't give you the link. I will, but
perfect.
But yeah, all of us. I think you, I, and Favretto will all be streaming on the 5th. So please come check us out. It sounds like all of us are going to be going for a long time. So lots and lots of time for you to pop in if you're have to work, maybe after work, before you name it. There will be a time when we're on. So come check us out.
Yeah, at any point during that day, you'll be able to find one of us. So you can also find there's a team page on Twitch as well. So you can just pop in there, see who's live.
Oh, yeah, right.
Pop on in. And you're going to watch us, give each other a hard time as we get paired up against each other in Timeless or Drafting.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be great. We've got to have, we should try and do, let's do like a little side thing. We got to keep track. I'm going to keep track on the side of how many times we've beaten and lost each other. It'll be hilarious.
I love it.
I'm going to be playing a lot of Limited, though. You're going to be mostly Constructed, right?
I generally do a lot of Constructed. I do plan on doing a lot of Limited. I also plan on drafting the set a ton after it comes out. So like next week, when it's live on the client, I'm going to be drafting it a lot. Is assuming that it's fun, because it looks fun. And
it should be. Yeah.
So that's my plan.
I just hope they don't gouge us. Just please make it cost the same amount as a normal set, because I'm, real life is no joke. My local shop in Canadian dollars, in Kanakistani dollars, it's like $70 or something. It's ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
70 something, $80.
Right.
Yeah, because so I'm like, oh my god, for one draft, so I really hope, please let Arena be not like thousands of gems.
I think it's the same. I don't think they're doing any kind of price hikes, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah.
Anyway, you can see us there. So I hope to see everybody there.
Things. Yeah. Yes. Wonderful. Well, yeah, thank you, dear viewer, dear listener, for hanging with us. We do appreciate it. Please drop a like, follow, subscription, 5-star review, whatever it's called, in your podcast app of choice or on the tubes, wherever you're seeing this. And yeah, thank you so much. And we'll be back next week to talk about more magical stuff. So we'll see you then. All right, later, everybody.
Bye.